Hello, salutations to the divinity within you. In the last video or podcast, I talked about obstructions from the infinite illumination, which some people call enlightenment, clarification, insight, or a state of grace, which is ecstasy, bliss, rapture, or just heaven on earth. Therefore, today we will discuss the obstructions, where they come from, and how we remove them, so we can enjoy the present moment of heaven on earth without having to die to go to heaven. To do this, we have to ask ourselves, who are we? This spiritual question only we can answer to discover and experience the divinity within. The divine mystery of Christian Mysticism, where we let the light shine that links us to divine ecstasy. This alignment with the light in enlightenment, is an alignment with love that stops the hunger for spiritual happiness, because it is the source of happiness. So the seeking ends and the light is enjoyed. This divinity resides in everything and everyone as it brings us all together, so there's no separation between the knower and the known, as our anxiety and fears are removed. When we go beyond the mind to experience the soul, the light within, we are transferred from our small ego self to the infinite consciousness in the spirit within our soul. The mind observes only on the physical level of existence, so in time it becomes grouchy or negative. So young people watch superhero movies and magical tales to escape to the enchanted world of the spirit. Others escape into nature, where all creatures are connected in an ecosystem, which helps us see the unity of all life on earth. The technique we use to transform from our small self to our real self does not matter. We just need to choose it, have a high regard for it, consider and comply with the experience. And these actions alone will allow our consciousness to blossom to the light. To trust and release our light, our spirit, it takes courage. But it is a way, a path to come into being who we really are. Everything is in one big web, connected, related, and united in all states, in an eternal interconnection between all levels of matter and spirit. Similar to the quantum entanglement theory that states if two electrons are created together, then they are forever entangled. Like two people in love, there is a bond. The distance does not matter. The electrons with a charge in a quantum spin on one electron immediately causes the other electron to change spin as well. Thomas Edison trained his second wife, in Morse code, so they could communicate privately when her family was around. In fact, he proposed to her in code. Similar to quantum entanglement, we communicate with our loved ones in the same way, in the hidden world of energy. Being in love is an entanglement that teaches us that love is not just physical, but two beings interacting and vibrating in harmony, entangled. We can be separated by an ocean with a loved one and still be connected on the spiritual level, mental level, and feel it on the physical level. Even with loved ones who have passed away, the exchange of thoughts and energy continues within and influences our physical action. What separates us from this great unity is our attachments, mentally and physically, and they then identify who we are as we are caught in our own web of labels. We create a personal narrative of who we are in the different roles we play, in different scenarios, and different levels that builds up our identities. These attachments start when we are babies, where we learn the different parts of our body, and then we learn about the world and our separation from it. Mommy is different from daddy, and separate as everyone has a different name and role to play in life, such as teacher, student, doctor, driver, woman, or man. We learn we are separated with different identities and labels, and then we start to think, what am I going to do when I grow up? We become attached to our ambitions and sometimes hand over our dream or dreams to others in a multi-layered state of affairs to get what we want, forgetting our unity and love with everything. John Lennon reminds us of this unity in his song Imagine, where we find there is no separation or division within our spirit, our soul. The division is in our mind. It goes like this. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You isolated may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. This song reminds us that all things vibrate together in the same frequency, entangled and harmonized, but our mind has us attached to the roles we play. When we meet new people, we introduce ourselves with our job, marriage, and family status, things we like and where we come from, which are temporary answers because they are always changing. The separation and boundaries we create in our mind is what makes us feel lonely when we are never alone. When we look at the world alone, the first part is all, A-L, and the second part is one, O-N-E. We are all one. We just need to awaken from the word all alone, which is a mental misconception, and awaken to the love, peace, and harmony in the unity with all one, A-L, all one, O-N-E, all one. Psalm 133-1 says, Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity. Unity is beyond the mind that creates class, color, race, religion, and prejudice, as unity is an experience in the spirit or consciousness. Unity contains the duality in our mind, which separates, disperses, and isolates us in the attachment to our identity. But when we identify with the whole, beyond the multiplicity, we flourish in unity, peace, and love. Ralph Waldo Emerson was a minister, philosopher, transcendentalist, and mystic, and he was interested in mysticism, and he said, the reason why the world lacks unity and lies broken and in heaps is because man is disunited within himself. Joy, an aspect of unity within us, is not dependent on the circumstances of our life and is expressed even in our most stressful and challenging moments because it is always present in the unity of consciousness. This is spirituality, where we convert suffering in this life to freedom from the confinement of our mind, right now in the present moment, not in the future after we die. Our dualistic mind doesn't understand the non-dual reality of spirit because it is an instrument of evolution that divides, analyzes, and looks for threats to protect us. So it is always taking things apart and then choosing a side. Going beyond the mind helps us to see things as a whole instead of in fragments, portions, or slices of reality in our short human lifespan. We are liberated to experience our real identity, which is who we are before we were born, are now, and will be after we die. Beyond our emotions and thinking is our true self, the spirit or consciousness that always was, always will be, and is expanding our consciousness now, allowing us to experience and participate in our spiritual being so we can be good human beings. When we become unattached to the different identities that we have acquired, like father, daughter, professor, unemployed, good or bad, then we are liberated. We are able to go beyond our limits and the pain and suffering of our different roles, because we see our mind taking on identities like an actor or actress playing a certain role. Our true self sets us free from all restrictions, rich or poor, fat or skinny, because our soul is beyond this life. But it does observe the limitations of our genetics and socialization. This is the purpose we came to our physical body, to learn, and our mind, to become spiritual, by changing our viewpoint from the mind to witnessing from our consciousness. We don't get emotional because we observe our different positions and opinions as costumes that actors must put on and take off in different roles, while observing from the viewpoint of the soul beyond the physical realm. We put on and take off qualities and personalities for the different roles we play without the attachment to the material things, time, or the space that restricts our body and mind. We are free from fears and anxiety of what stretches out before us or what hangs around behind us, because these are of small importance to what lies in the consciousness of our soul. Once we experience love and unity of our life, it becomes simple, because it is only the mind that makes it complicated with pain and suffering. Confined to our mind, the world presents us with desires, thoughts, fears, and worries that become our baggage. But when we drop our attachments, our obstructions, the ultimate truth, our true nature, becomes clear. This comes from biological evolution to the point of spiritual evolution, which is the evolution of our nature and the manifestation of the soul. The processes of physical evolution gave and give the world every created species of life, the biological diversity of our duality. Physical evolution sets in motion the variety and multiplicity that we see in the whole world, while spiritual evolution takes us back to our unity in life. They are both processes of transformation, where life on earth transforms from a unity consciousness to a multidimensional consciousness, and then expands awareness back to the divine consciousness. Throughout evolution, either physical or spiritual, we see the brilliant splendor of the divine light within our being. Physical evolution is the development of our health and well-being as human beings, while spiritual evolution is the elimination of our anxiety, stress, tension, and trauma to experience happiness or heaven on earth. Imagine a partition that separates us from a breathtaking, magnificent, brilliant vision that encompasses love and makes us benevolent. In the separator or dividing wall is a small hole through which we can observe a small fragment of the surroundings and background. Spiritual evolution increases the size of the hole so we can see more and more of the spiritual reality that is behind the veil of the material world. Poetry and music are good examples of ways to have a spiritual vision of the universe and our world that moves us while living in the material realm. With spiritual practice, the hole in the screen gets bigger and our vision is expanded until the whole partition is removed or disappears. There is nothing between the scenery and us, as we have removed the obstructions and have become one with the wholeness of the area of interest. The partition that separates us is our mind, but sustaining, embracing, and taking in the mind is the soul, which encompasses infinity in our unit consciousness. As our mind expands and becomes clear, unobstructed, and pure, the recognition and brilliance of the soul can be observed. The soul does not change or manifest because it always was and will be for eternity. So the change is in the mind, the partition. The soul is consistent, will live forever and never die because it is infinite, immortal, and divine, as it was created in the image and likeness of God. That's Genesis 1-27 and 5-2. In our mind, it is difficult to realize our likeness to God because the mind is limited and attaches itself to concepts, ideologies, rules, judgments, desires, and it enslaved, and we are enslaved by our identities. The soul is different. It does not live for monetary stimulation of the nerves, momentary stimulation of the nerves, or monetary, sense enjoyment of our useless egoisms of the world. Every soul is whole, infinite, pure, no matter how distorted, corrupted, or distressed the mind is at the moment. Imagine two birds sitting in the same tree. One is on the top branch and another bird is sitting below on another branch. Both of them are beautiful in their own way. One bird is eating the fruit of the tree while the other bird remains at peace within and united with all the glory around him in the moment. The lower bird is eating good and bad fruit, occasionally eating a bitter one. But sometimes the lower one gets so high, he or she looks up. He sees the other bird sitting there calm, content, and in bliss, not caring for good fruit or any other enjoyment, because the soul is enjoyment. The lower bird looks at the upper bird and wants to get near that experience. But as it goes higher, its old thoughts, influences, and imprints are upon it, so it continues to do the same things. Then an unusual bitter fruit comes, and his body and mind are shook up and upset about the exceptionally bad experience. The bird looks up and senses the calm and serene demeanor of the higher bird. But again, the lower bird is dragged down by past actions and thoughts and continues the same life. After eating another exceptionally bitter fruit with bad reactions, the lower bird climbs higher to get closer to the peaceful experience. She climbs until she gets closer and closer to the light in the higher bird and feels it penetrating her own light, where his vision of life changes. He or she realizes that he is the elevated bird and that it only takes a little reflection and contemplation on being the mere image of divinity. We are not a body of clay, atoms, and organs, but a looking glass that sees the light and reflects it. We pause the mind because whatever we think is reflected back, not the light. The light of the universe is not only outside us, but inside, as we are in the universe, and its light is in us. We only need to allow the universe to reflect back what we are vibrating and learn from it. The vibrations we emit are reflected back to us in the form of people, situations, and happenings, because the universe gives the mind the frequency it thinks into it. We are created in the image and likeness of God, so why do we look for the discrepancy and sin in ourselves and in other people when it only makes us irritated, accusing, and condemning, when that is not who we are? If we think we are a part of the infinite will be conveyed and will be available to us in the usage of energy, love, and serenity. There's only one infinite, and it is omnipresent everywhere and in every soul, because every soul is in the infinite, so the infinite is in the soul of everyone. There cannot be two or more infinities because this is not infinite. That means it's finite. So the infinite is one, unity. We are finite in our mind and body. In the soul, we are infinite. Therefore, we need to go beyond the dualistic mind, because dualistic thoughts reflect back dualistic ideas. And then our rational mind produces fundamentalism. We think and are taught that we are human beings with a soul, but we need to look into the mirror that turns everything backwards and think like Pierre Teilhard, pardon my French, the priest, scientist, philosopher, and mystic who said, "We are spiritual beings having a human experience. To have this experience, we need to go beyond the mind that muddies our consciousness with thoughts and open the soul consciousness that is clear in harmony, stillness, and peace. The soul connection helps us experience our unity with infinity beyond the mind, beyond thoughts, and beyond survival." William Blake, the mystic poet, said, "If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to us as it is, infinite." Okay, our consciousness helps us vibrate at the highest frequency towards every living thing in sympathetic feelings. Being present in the now is our conscious choice to be happy and satisfied in what happens in our experience as we emit the vibration that attracts the music that never ends. In other words, we are in eternity. We are in infinity. It's our mind and the obstructions that keep us separated from it. But we are in it, like a cup in the ocean. The cup is our mind. The water and the ocean are the same, infinity. So if we can remove the cup, the water and the cup and the ocean become one, united. To open our doors of perception, we need to be aware of and appreciate what the senses don't, which is the spirit, the unidentified soul of our being. This is what we should contemplate, meditate, and reflect on, so we can unite our inner reality with our outer reality. Meditation does not declare, command, or tell us what to believe. It just lets us be who we are as beings and spirits in the infinite, away from our established way of thinking. To embark on this journey does not cost anything because it is just redirecting our consciousness to the soul instead of our mental dispositions. This is one way to discover the divinity within and appreciate our image and likeness to God. As mentioned earlier, while we enjoy the blessings around us and inside us. The universe is outside and inside us, and we already have everything we need and desire because our true self embraces it all. Meditation, or contemplation, takes us to our inner self, which is the image and likeness of God, so it becomes a mirror reflecting God, so we can connect directly with unity and love. Our ego mind and others will respond with contempt and fear, reacting by condemning and giving their opinions, trying to control our ability and capacity to know ourselves. Albert Einstein said, "The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science." Expressing disapproval is all right, but it is not going to take us to our deepest self, because love is what reaches out without fear for a deeper, more harmonious experience. The present moment is the teacher, as it allows us to be ourselves and experience the awe of the universe as we put fear behind us and accept love. The path is slow, step by step, as we change our thinking and inner attitude to be positive in the present moment. We suspend thinking about putting together our small self and then love while we discover our higher self. That loves with no rules. Jesus said in Matthew 23:25, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you cleanse the outside of the cup and dish, but inside are full of extortion and self-indulgence." dropping our obstructions, dropping the cup, the screen, the partition, and resistance to change opens us to the energy and universe of the universe and life, where we witness the stream of energy and consciousness that is obsessive, and the living, moving universe that is universal, united, and loving that we call God. In meditation, we observe our own stream of consciousness reflected back to us as in a mirror that we are thinking in our mind. And then, in the mirror of our soul, we see our pure being. It's like watching a river of thoughts flow into the ocean of pure being as we let them go. Knowing those thoughts are not who we are. Getting emotional about those thoughts or angry at the mirror doesn't change what they're reflecting, but observing them from the soul lets them pass. We only change our viewpoint from the mind that gets emotional over the thoughts to the soul, so we see things differently. Our view is no longer small but universal, and it excites our spirit beyond our ideas, opinions, beliefs, and judgment. Therefore, it is heaven on earth, and our soul knows the way. It is the bridge over the river of thoughts. The thoughts come, and they're always changing. If we think on those thoughts, or we get emotional about them, then the thoughts stay around and linger. But if we just watch them, the thought comes and then it passes away, just like a river as it goes down the river. And we learn from those thoughts. They're coming from the universe, they're coming from us. We learn about ourselves. And if we are observing those thoughts, we are not those thoughts. We are more than that. That's why we have to get to the soul and the consciousness of the soul and observe them. Then we will find our true self and who we are. Okay, thank you. Have a good evening. Bye.